Hello everyone, I'm your host Woody, and today we are going to be looking at 10 celebrities who are forced to file for bankruptcy. With Amber Heard potentially on the brink of being added to this list, let's get into it. Number 10. 50 Cent. Famous American rapper and actor 50 Cent is well known for his work and his influence on the hip-hop scene. In 2015, the rapper was forced to declare bankruptcy after he was ordered in court to pay $5 million towards Lastonia Leviston after he had edited and re-uploaded a inappropriate tape of hers. Just 3 days later, he filed for the bankruptcy. I guess he didn't even have 50 cents to his name. That one was bad. After filing, he was ordered to pay $23 million. Something that people noticed was that even after saying he was broke, he was seen posing on social media with stacks of cash and $100 bills, though his lawyers told the public that it had just been prop money, often used for music videos or movies. In 2017, he was able to pay off the debts after paying $9 million of his own cash and over $13 million he had won in a legal malpractice case, officially emerging from bankruptcy 3 years ahead of his plan. These days, his net worth is around $30 million. That's definitely way more than 50 cents. I'm done. Number 9. Larry King. Larry King was a well-known and legendary broadcaster, but like with many celebrities, he struggled at the start of his career. When he started gaining popularity in the 60s, he made use of his money, as I'm sure many of us would, blowing it on things like expensive cars and betting on horse racing. Finally, in the early 1970s, his wallet couldn't keep up anymore, and King was in debt, divorced, and fired thanks to a scandal. As he found himself unable to find work for 4 more years, he eventually had to file for bankruptcy in 1978. Soon after, in that same year, however, he was approached with the opportunity to run his own radio talk show, finally becoming the wildly popular Larry King Live Show, which ran until 2010. Thanks to the sudden re-emergence of his successful career, he didn't face much trouble with paying off his debts and coming out of bankruptcy. The legend unfortunately passed away in January of 2021 with an estimated net worth of around $51 million. Number 8. Willie Nelson. Tax season, the most stressful time of year for a lot of people. The dreaded audit waiting around every turn. Famous performer Willie Nelson unfortunately managed to get on the bad side of the IRS. With his success throughout the 50s to the 70s, Nelson was pretty rich. But when the IRS took a look into his taxes, they found something that they didn't like. He had apparently been hiding his income in tax shelters, Nelson saying that it was just a bad choice as a result of bad advice from his accountants. They determined that he owed almost $16 million in unpaid taxes. Nelson knew what was coming and that his assets were going to be seized, so he sent his guitar Trigger to Maui with his daughter. He filed for bankruptcy and even took to putting out a CD for sale that was titled The IRS Tapes Who'll Buy My Memories, which featured just him and his guitar. It was an unusual agreement that the two teams had come to in order to share the revenue of the CD and pay off his debt. He also famously said he bothered the IRS agents by parking his bus outside and doing autographs with fans in between questioning. Number 7. George Foreman. George Foreman, who you probably most associate with a grill, was a successful boxer, making around $5 million from his fights. However, by 1987, he had lost almost all of his money from both bad investments and an apparently overly extravagant lifestyle. As a result, he filed for bankruptcy, came out of retirement and started fighting again, and also licensed his name to a line of grillers. At the beginning of the deal, they agreed he would get 45% of the revenue from the product, but it's reported that by the time the grills took off, he was making nearly $11 million for every television promotion he did for the product. Finally, in 1999, the manufacturer paid George Foreman a total of $137 million in cash and stocks in order to be able to continue to use his name and likeness for the product. Thanks to the success of the grills, which I'm sure no one saw coming, Foreman was able to find his way back to success. He now spends his time at home with his 5th wife and 9 children, sporting an estimated net worth of nearly $300 million. And I'm sure he spends a lot of time grilling as well. Number 6. Tom Petty. Famous rock star Tom Petty was another celeb who had to file for bankruptcy, except in his case it wasn't due to overspending or making poor bets. Instead, he was trying to free himself from his contract with his record label Shelter Records, as he had seen barely any money from 2 of his hit albums, he became unhappy with the contract, saying he didn't want to be bought and sold like a piece of meat. He refused for his next album to be released, taking on the cost of recording, which left him $500,000 in debt. So he then filed for bankruptcy, hoping that by doing so it would give him leverage, as the bankruptcy court might declare the unfavorable contract null and void. And it worked. They agreed to release Petty from the contract and re-signed him to a new label. The held-back album Damn the Torpedoes went double platinum and cemented his place as a superstar. He obviously had pretty strong beliefs, as when they attempted to release the CD for $9.98, $1 higher than average, he fought to have it kept at the standard price of $8.98. Thanks to his bold move, he ended up with a net worth that totaled around $95 million. Number 5. MC Hammer. While I don't have my hammer pants on today, we are going to be talking about the American rapper and dancer MC Hammer. In the beginning of the 90s, he was one of the most popular celebrities around, making apparently around $70 million. However, 5 years after his peak, he filed for bankruptcy. So what happened to all the money? Well, apparently 17 luxury cars, 21 racehorses, a private jet, 2 helicopters, a golden hot tub, a pool in the shape of his pants, and statues of himself. Yeah, you can't say this guy doesn't have style. It quickly caught up to him, as in 1996 he filed for bankruptcy, selling his dream home for about half the price that he had purchased it for. He lost all his cars, planes, and horses, and I can only imagine someone came in and melted down the golden hot tub. He owed about $13 million. But I'm sure he's very grateful for his music and lasting celebrity status, as he's still been able to generate income, and his current net worth is estimated at around $2 million. Number 4. Burt Reynolds. Back in the 60s and 70s, actor Burt Reynolds was famous, appearing in tons of movies, and everyone at the time thought that he was very attractive. At the peak of his career, he had a total of around $60 million to his name, winning multiple Emmys and being nominated for various Golden Globe Awards. However, just as quickly as he got his money, it was leaving his pockets. He had several mansions in Beverly Hills, villas, a private jet, and a 160-acre ranch in Florida with 150 horses. What anyone could possibly need with that many horses, I'm not really sure. However, his second marriage to Lonnie Anderson cost him a lot of money, and he eventually filed for bankruptcy in 1996. He also had apparently spent over $100,000 on toupees, but he still said, "I would have spent more money and had a lot more fun." It seems the bankruptcy wasn't too bad for him though, as in a strange move, the courts allowed him to keep all of his homes, and only required him to pay $2.5 million of his debts. He continued starring in films for decades after, but could never seem to match the success he had at the height of his career, his net worth coming down to around $5 million. Number 3. Mike Tyson. Heavyweight champion Mike Tyson is another fighter that we are adding to this list. At the peak of his career, which was wildly successful, Tyson apparently made around $300 million from his fights. However, Tyson also enjoyed the lavish lifestyle that the money provided him with, spending money on mansions, parties, sports cars, and even his pet Siberian tigers. As a result, in 2003 he had to file for bankruptcy, his debts apparently being around $27 million, with $18 million being unpaid taxes. While he admits he went crazy with his money, he also places the blame on the people around him, saying that there were people who took advantage of him, stating that leeches is even too decent of a word to use to refer to them. Mike Tyson was unable to get out of bankruptcy until almost a decade later, some of which was spent in rehab for his substance use issues. He has had some movie appearances and television shows since, with his net worth now being around $10 million. Number 2. Marvin Gaye. Known for his hits like Heard It Through the Grapevine and What's Going On, musician Marvin Gaye was a legend in the world of soul. However, in 1976, he would go through a divorce that would cause him to file for bankruptcy. The settlement decided that he had to pay all the royalties from his next album to his ex-wife, in return for $600,000 of unpaid alimony payments. Other rumored reasons for his bankruptcy were spending habits in relation to substance use issues, problems that continued throughout the rest of his life. In 1984, however, he was able to make a recovery, as he released his record Midnight Love. It was an incredible success, selling over 2 million copies just in the United States. Unfortunately, his finances never seemed to fully recover, and at the time of his unfortunate and untimely death, he was in debt almost $10 million, having only his intellectual property to his name. Number 1. Walt Disney. This man doesn't really need any introduction. Creator of Mickey Mouse and Disney, he's a household name around the world. However, the beginning of his career wasn't so easy. In the 20s, he started his first ever animation studio called Laugh-O-Gram. While somewhat successful, the business eventually failed. When he was forced to file for bankruptcy, it's not known what exactly his debts were, but he was apparently unable to pay his employees or even his own rent. We all know that afterwards, though, he was able to launch Walt Disney Studios in 1928, this being thanks to a loan that he received from his brother and his parents. As soon as Mickey Mouse came alive, the studio went on to become one of the most successful in the world. At the time of his death, his net worth was around $20 million, which today would be close to $150 million, and Disney's total worth right now is around $200 billion. Maybe his frozen head is just waiting for the right time to come back up and take advantage of some of that money. Thank you for watching. That was 10 celebrities who were forced to file for bankruptcy. I've been Woody and you've been amazing. Join us next time for more.